All right, here we go. I know it's a World Series reaction for many of you hot Atlanta fans in here, and we got a lot to discuss. Again, as I always say, I love to rag on the opposing team's fan bases when things go right for the Mets, and when things go wrong, I have to eat it. I have to deal with it, and that is certainly the case here as the Atlanta Braves take Game 1 of a 3-game set in Atlanta by a final score of 6-4. How's it going, Mets and Braves fans, or whoever you're a fan of? Appreciate you guys chiming in for the latest post-game show. Oh, trust me, I'm frustrated. Trust me, I have a little mini rant to go on. Again, the key word tonight was wasted, and the second word would be opportunity. The Mets had their chance. They were up 3 runs when their offense still was not good tonight. If you were not Pete Alonso or Francisco Lindor, and of course, in typical Mets fashion, unfortunately, you saw tonight Alonso yapping at Elder. Did I say Elder? Yeah, Elder. Saying, throw it again, which granted, Alonso wasn't the issue tonight. However, in typical fashion, it blew up in the Mets' face. So we have a lot to get into. I appreciate everyone watching live or on replay. Thank you guys all so much for being in here. I know we're going to have a spike in viewership because all those hot Atlanta fans. I got to say, I was just talking with someone the other day. There are not a lot of Atlanta Braves YouTubers out there. I know they got some people with locked on, but aside from that, they really don't have anyone. So I know a lot of you Braves fans honestly come in here and enjoy the content, regardless of the fact that I am a Mets cover type guy. So I appreciate everyone in here. I know you're going to have the L spam, and let's spam those L's in the live chat right now, as a matter of fact. Thank you, Metropolitans, for coming out tonight, teasing us with an early lead only to get blown. And again, the Braves are the better team. We know that. They are 6.5 up for the Mets here in the division right now. They are certainly the team to beat this year. They have a phenomenal lineup, a phenomenal roster. That's why as soon as the year began, I did not bother for even 1 second to come out and try to be overly cocky as a fan. I knew that would be an uphill battle from the start. Again, the Braves have an ridiculous amount of talent, so I'm not shocked by any of this, but again, I appreciate everyone for chiming in. Really does mean a lot because we have a lot to get into. We're going to be breaking down innings 1 through 9, what I like, certainly what I didn't like on the Carlos Carrasco front, because Cookie, it was a tale of 2 games that we saw here tonight that I'll be breaking down. Should he have stayed in there facing the top of the order for Atlanta there in the 6th? Probably not, but we'll get into that as well. And of course, Buck Showalter not playing to the Mets' hottest hitters as of late in Mark Canha and Tommy Pham. Pham came in the 8th inning, but it was too little too late. Francisco Alvarez doesn't get the start because Narvaez returns from the IL, which I'm not complaining about too much. However, Alvarez still better be starting the next 2 games of the series, or I'm personally going to have an issue with that. And of course, Mark Vientos. I mean, God forbid you call up a kid and continue to give him consistent reps. No, let's continue to bat Daniel Vogelbach in the 5 spot and let him strike out 3 times tonight and have a soft ground out. Surely that is a recipe for success. I have a lot of gripes on the lineup once again, as I do with this Mets team as a whole. Now they have dropped 1 game below 500 on the season, 6.5 back from the division lead there in the NL East, and a lot more to get into. But also, as always, shout out to my good friends at Mojo Sportsbook for New Jersey residents only. Shout out to Sober MLB, the best MLB fantasy game out there, and of course, Mantis Sleep, the best sleep mask out there. We'll be getting into them a little bit later. Shout out all those lovely sponsors. But again, I know, like I said, and I'll say it again, as frustrated, as pissed as I am, and as I'm about to go on a rant with you all, Braves fans, I know you guys eat this up for breakfast the same way when the Mets had their when the Mets were at their peak last year, when the Mets dominated the Braves, when the Mets won 3 of 4 in this summer against Atlanta, and the Braves were really back in the division. Us Mets fans were eating up every single second, and we enjoyed every single second of it. I went out and I reacted as if it was a World Series victory. So I know I'm being a hypocrite by starting the show and saying, I see we got those World Series reactions, but I can relate as a Mets fan. I know how good the feeling is, and I will say, as much as I hate the Braves with every single part of me, I would be beyond pissed off if the Braves did not exist, because I love rivalries more than anything. Even if this rivalry has been more lopsided in recent years, with the Braves being consistent division winners, it doesn't change the fact that when they're competitive, I thoroughly enjoy this rivalry. The Braves are my favorite team to play, along with the Phillies, especially Phillies, because I live in PA, so I'm not far out from Philly at all. I love rivalries. That is what makes this sport so great. So by all means, again, if you're a Braves fan, I know you're going AWOL in the chat, as you should. Hopefully it only lasts 24 hours and the Mets can take game 2 and even up the series. But again, if the Mets drop the series tomorrow, then you guys are going to continue to go on your thing. Regardless, the Mets' best case scenario, even if they somehow, some way leg out a series win, they will be 4.5 out of the division, which again isn't the end all by any stretch. However, the Mets have major things that they need to work on this team, have some changes that need to be had, and we still have yet to see them. So I'm going to get into some donations real quick. I'm going to do that, and then from there, we're going to be breaking down innings 1 through 9. But I asked you guys in the live chat to start, how will this series end? Through a poll. Will would be A, Braves win 2 out of 3, B, Braves sweep the Mets, or 3, Mets win 2 out of 3. So I'm going to get into that in a second. This is not a rivalry yet. If it wasn't a rivalry, then Braves fans wouldn't be going out of their way to react the way that they do. That's nonsense. This has always been a rivalry. Doesn't matter if it has been lopsided in recent years. Yet last year was at its peak in a very long time. Mets dominated, held that division lead all the way up until the end, and then of course they lost it in the worst fashion imaginable, losing in Atlanta. It didn't matter come playoff time because both teams stunk. You know what? They were horrendous. And when it mattered most in the postseason, however, regular season wise, again, it was a back and forth, and it was so entertaining. And I hope that we see more of that back and forth later on this year, but the Mets have a lot of work that they still need to do in order to make that happen. Don't quit your day job, Wardy. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, considering that this is the day job, so appreciate that. I will say again, I appreciate everyone watching live. Doesn't matter if you're a Mets or a Braves fan. However, if you do show signs of disrespect, if you just come in here to be a pain in my ass, then I'm going to just kick you. I will say that very much. And if you're wondering why, it's because I can. That's the beauty about owning my channel. I have the right to do whatever I want. But let's get into it now. Let's talk about the live chat, shall we? So again, 58% of you guys out of over 300 votes currently believe the Mets are going to get swept by the Atlanta Braves. Now let's get into answering your donations, all your comments, all that great stuff. Then I'll break down innings 1 through 9 here shortly because I have a lot to say about that. Okay, let's see. Pete is so cringe. LO Braves fan. Love your content. Keep it up. We don't have a big YouTuber yet. Tyler Redmond is getting there, though. I don't know who Tyler Redmond is, but I'm sure he does a good job. I'll have to check him out. Yeah, I literally was in a conversation with someone the other day about trying to find a Braves content creator to collab with, to do post games, like what we're doing. But I really haven't found anyone yet that's really sticking out to me. So if there is someone that comes through the ranks soon, by all means do it. I mean, if I was a neutral fan and say wasn't a fan of the Mets, I would go and do it because I know the Braves have such a big fan base. Someone needs to go out and take advantage of that market. It's there and no one's doing it right now. So hopefully someone does sooner than later because I love the friendly banter. I love going back and forth, but I haven't found anyone. I know a lot of content creators that are Braves fans, like Foolish Baseball, Bailey, Joey from Baseball Doesn't Exist, Sad Man Baseball. I mean, many guys who are Braves fans that are content creators, but haven't felt someone that's really honing in on the Braves market yet, which is unfortunate because I want to see that happen. I want to have those conversations, but I haven't had the chance to do it again. I'll throw it again. Ryan, I appreciate that donation. I'll gladly take that dono. If you're going to rag on Pete, you might as well throw me a couple bucks if you're going to do so. Not going to see me complain about that one. Benjamin, thank you so much for the donation. Says, thanks for your respect to Braves fans. You have a great show. I appreciate that. And don't get me wrong, I talked my fair amount of shit when things went right last year. So I have respect to fans who show me respect. If you don't show me respect, then I'm not going to show you respect. So it depends on the fan that I'm talking to, because I've kicked Braves fans in the past, and I've loved certain ones that have come in the chat. So it varies just like anyone else. You have your good apples, you have your bad apples, but no less. I appreciate that donation a lot, and thank you so much for being in here, my friend, regardless of who you're a fan of. 1200, thank you so much for the $5 holla. He says, seriously, get rid of everyone. Start over. This team is garbage. Rip George Burns, better late than ever. Epler is garbage. Appreciate that donation, 1200. You never miss. Mario, thank you for the $2 holla. It means a lot as well. Shout out to all my members. I know that we got a new member for our GOAT membership that I still need to update. It still hasn't updated. I don't know why. Might have missed on another Wardy ATL soon. Could you imagine? I almost did that for April Fools, and I think I would have lost like at least 1,000 subscribers, which is why I didn't do that. But I got a rant. I really want to rant because I'm really pissed off about this. Isn't Foolish Baseball a Braves fan? Yes, he is. That's exactly what I was saying. But my point is that there aren't really any true Braves fans that cover solely the Braves that are prominent, that are to a status that, that a lot of people are jumping on. Like, again, we're getting more Braves fans that are watching the show tonight than we will get a good amount of Braves fans watching any other Braves channel, which again, I'm grateful for. I'm not complaining of. I enjoy the conversations. I enjoy the banner. It's a lot of fun and it makes for good conversation. But regardless, I know that someone joined. I don't know who became a member earlier, so I apologize for that. But I will say it is kind of ironic that someone became a GOAT member on the channel, not only because Jake isn't a member anymore and I haven't upgraded those memberships yet, but more so because this news of the day, as many of you guys saw, and I'm not going to harp on this long, is Jacob deGrom having Tommy John surgery for the second time in his career. I'm not going to say much on that other than I felt terrible to see Jake crying in his presser. I truly feel for the guy. Again, I admired him and loved him just as much as any other Mets fan during his time in Queens. I also said, however, that with that being said, that further validates the reasoning as to why the Mets did not do the type of deal that they did. And Jake even has a clause in his contract with the Rangers where he could be extended a full year should the Rangers accept it, to make it, instead of a 5-year deal, a 6-year deal instead at $222 million should he have Tommy John surgery from the years 2023 to 2026. Has it in year 1, so that clause can kick in should the Rangers accept it. I don't know if they will. They took that risk. They took that gamble, and now the Mets were proven right, not only with Jake to an extent, even though that they never got the final say with the Rangers. And again, you don't blame Jake considering the clauses he's got with Texas to want to go there, but Kumar Rocker as well. So don't get me wrong, there are a lot of LOL Mets narratives out there. We all know that. But I would also like to note when the Mets seem like, at least for now, that they make the proper decisions. Even if Kumar Rocker ends up having a great career, in which he may very well do so. Same thing with Jake when he returns, hopefully within the next year and a half or so. Regardless, I know that for certain that if that happened with Jake on the Mets right now, it would be in every single headline. It would be narrative galore, LOL Mets, that they're the worst ran franchise in baseball. And I'm happy that the Mets were able to at least avoid that, albeit they still lose tonight, of course, by a final score of 6-4. But let's get into it now. Let's talk about this shit show of a ball game. The Mets, again, they had the early lead, but they weren't good. Their offense was shit. Hoagie Vogie, again, with those hoagies in the 5 spot today, useless once again. Omar Narvaez had a single in his Mets return coming off of the 60 DIL. Happy about that. But again, Alvarez is your starting catcher now and then going forward. I want to see him continue to get reps. Mark Vientos, send the kid's ass down if you're not going to play him. He has pop in his bat. He was off to a phenomenal start in AAA, and we're just not going to play him. Brett Beatty is continuing to go through his slump, but he's not the only issue in this lineup still, and I want to see his growing pains continue at the major league level. I don't want to see him sent down unless he becomes a complete liability. Jeff McNeil was a liability in left field today, which led to the 6th and final run of the Braves that we saw there. Eduardo Escobar was not good at second base either, was not able to get a glove on what, again, was a little bit of a hard ball. Regardless, I know for a fact he has that play. And more than anything, Carlos Carrasco started this game well. Cookie had some really sharp swing misses on his pitches. I liked his arsenal, but the Mets, again, just held on to him a little bit too long and trusted the fact that Cookie has been able to eat innings in his last 2 to 3 starts without a problem, really, and now he gets exposed by, again, a Braves team that is not only one of the best hitting teams of baseball, one of the best home run hitting teams of baseball, and again, the Mets entering tonight's game have surrendered the most home runs in all the National League. So I'm going to go on a limb and say that's not necessarily the best recipe for success when facing the complete opposite, if you will, that being in the Braves. So the game starts off, as we see there in the first inning. Olsen and Riley with a single. Murphy with a big double play to end the inning. That's huge. Sean Murphy, of course, Mets killer 101, just like Acuna, just like Olsen, just like Riley and your mother, your sister, whoever it is. They're all Mets killers. Again, the core group of the Braves is so damn good. We all know that. They're all, again, in their mid to late 20s on long-term, ridiculous deals, and the Braves are going to continue to have that core group for the next decade, and they're going to thrive in doing so. Regardless, Cookie's able to get out of the jam, but as we head to the second inning, because, of course, the Mets don't do anything with their offense in the first. They blow an opportunity. In the second, Albies rips a dead center bomb to make it a 1-0 early Braves lead. The early Braves lead truly felt inevitable. GD, thank you for the donation. I know you said that about Buck again earlier. I apologize again if I missed any donations, guys. We got a lot of people in the chat. I missed some comments. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe on as you're chiming in, though, for the most consistent Mets coverage here on YouTube. That is your boy Wardy here. And again, thank you guys so much in advance for the support. Shout out to our sponsors I will be getting to shortly. However, what I do want to say is that while I expected the Braves to get the early lead, I would be lying if I said that I expected the Mets to get off to a 4-1 lead early, but it never, you were excited in the moment, but you're still cautiously optimistic with this team. It's like you rather, if they're going to get the lead, wait until it's the 7th, 8th inning by multiple runs, because you love the odds, you love the chances far greater than you do in a scenario where it's early on. In a hot Atlanta, all they need was to get hot there with the top of their order, and then that was the recipe for disaster, that being the Mets. As we get to the the third, however, in a 1-0 ball game, Narvaez rips his first single on the first pitch he sees in his first game back in months, and he gets on base. Chavez would then be thrown out of the game because the umpire, who, surprise, surprise, was dog shit. He was dog shit to the Braves. He was dog shit to the Mets. Had a horrendous strike 3 call on Beatty in the second inning today, which was like a foot inside. It was absolutely horrendous. The ump was horrendous last series against the Blue Jays. Can we just get robo umps right? It is god awful. It's an embarrassment. And the worst part is that the umps, they have their own union, right? So they have all this protection and they have entitlement more than ever. So you're throwing out Chavez because the rabbit ear is calling you out for the piss poor calls that you had all tonight. Like, I hate the entitlement with these guys. Don't get me wrong. I know umps, all officials have a really difficult job, but at the end of the day, if you're dog shit, you should be called out for it, and you should not be protected for it when you do it on a night-to-night basis. You know, it feels like Angel Hernandez is the farthest thing from the worst ump in baseball right now with how piss poor I feel like, not only for the Mets, but for the Braves. For every single baseball team out there we are seeing on a night-to-night basis, they are getting calls completely out of the zone, and then it's not consistent, so then they aren't the second time in the order. None of it makes any effing sense. It's a huge problem in baseball right now. It's not getting fixed anytime soon. The only thing that could plausibly fix this is seeing what you have with robo-umps, which are already being tested in the minor leagues, if I'm not mistaken. But with that being said, Narvaez with a single. Chavez is thrown out of the game. For those that don't know, Chavez was the Mets hitting coach. Maybe he should still be the Mets hitting coach because their hitting has been so Jekyll and Hyde this year, hence why the team is a game below 500. No less, Lindor with a 2-run ding-dong, rips that one, gets a little bit of a hanger, and he had a no-doubter. I was feeling good about Lindor heading into this game. Again, Lindor tends to do well in big matchups, in big series, in big moments. Yes, he has been inconsistent this year, but he's been an extra base god, and I'm not surprised at all that he ripped that one off of Elder to make it a 2-1 Mets lead to right. McNeil then with a walk after, and then Alonso says, "How you doing?" and goodbye. It's a 2-run ding-dong, his 22nd of the year, and of course, he said what he said, throw it again to Elder, and if the Braves didn't win, no one would be making a joke out of it, but because the Braves won, this is going to be the Braves rally for the entirety of the year. You already know it is. That's just how these things work, so let them enjoy it. It would sting more as a fan, I think, if Alonso hit the home run and then say struck out next to at bats and like bases low, no out situation where like he kind of blew it. That wasn't the case tonight. Alonso had very sharp at bats. Regardless, again, I'm not surprised that he's going to be getting ragged for that now. It is what it is. He spoke a little too soon, you could argue. In the bottom of the third, then after the Mets already took a 4-1 lead, Acuna with a single and Riley would hit by pitch, but Cookie does his little Houdini impression and works some magic and gets out of that inning unscathed. In the fourth, Beatty with a base knock. That's all she wrote, though, for the Mets offense, because as we advance then to the sixth inning, Matt Olson reaches on a walk, a leadoff walk. Cookie, again, giving up another leadoff walk, another inning, and this would be the Mets' demise here. This is where, if you're Buck Showalter, you try to see if you could throw out some guys. Again, a healthy, fresh, refined bullpen. Have the day off, right? Don't get me wrong, the Mets bullpen isn't good. If you're not David Robertson, if you're not Adam Ottavino, if you're not Brooks Riley, there is no depth in this pen. I'm sorry. I like Drew Smith when it's in non-high leverage situations. I don't like him in close games. I don't. Why? Because Drew Smith has yet to prove to me that he can consistently go out there and be that guy that the Mets are hoping for. But the Mets' depth in this pen right now is so scarce. It's not there, and that's a problem. Again, and it was full-fledged once again. Drew Smith has the stuff, but he just got beat. He got beat by a Braves team that knows what they're doing. But prior to getting beat, Olsen with a walk, Riley with a double, Austin Riley, Mets killer. Surprise, surprise. How you doing? How are you? How's your day? Murphy with a 2-run double to make it a 1-run ball game. Sean Murphy has literally torched the Mets every single game he's played them thus far. Then comes in Drew Smith after Carrasco exits, allowing 3 earned runs. Again, Cookie, I like his stuff. Probably shouldn't have been in there to start face the top of the order. But again, Buck Showalter having some so-so decisions in game management. We're not shocked by this. We've seen this a lot this year, unfortunately. Then Ozuna with an RBI double down in the corner. That ties the ball game. That pissed me off more, not because the Braves gained the lead, but just because I hate Marcell Ozuna and the schmuck that he is. And I hate that for a lot of Braves fans, for whatever reason, they just have this infatuation with him as if he's the best thing since sliced bread when he's a piece of shit human being. I'm going to call it how it is. I don't care. I'm Ozuna from the Braves. And not only everything that went on with his situation with the domestic situation, which of course in his own right wasn't good. I know that the details are a little bit different than maybe what people initially believed, but just the self-entitlement. I know people made a joke out of it, but I'm Ozuna from the Braves or your DUI. Like, fuck off. I've never been in favor of Ozuna since that point. I didn't even like Ozuna I don't think I've ever been a Marcell Ozuna fan. I didn't even like him when he was with the Marlins because he was on the Marlins. Then he went to the Cardinals. Why would I root for him on the Cardinals? I've never been an Ozuna guy, and that, again, continued tonight, but he gets the last laugh, right? RBI double ties the ball game. Arcia with an RBI infield single, and it's a tied ball game. No, they get the lead rather, 5-4 there in the sixth. Then as we advance to the eighth inning, Nimmo with a walk. He reaches second base on a wild pitch. Murphy misses the catch there, and the Mets can't convert, unfortunately. In the bottom of the eighth, Ottavino comes in. Rosario with a double turn triple because McNeil in left field did not have a good day. Bobbled the ball, not one, not two, but felt like 3 times that allowed Rosario to get to third base with ease. Again, it didn't matter because the Mets didn't score in the ninth, but the point stands. Not good defense there by Jeff, which is a little shocking because Jeff usually has had Gold Glove caliber defense if he's at second or if he's in left or right. I mean, Jeff, I'm not going to harp on much here. He too, however, has been pressing his at-bats a little bit. McNeil's batting 278 right now. He's not the 300 hitter that we usually expect, so he's just one of many guys in the lineup that on a night-to-night basis, you're not getting that consistent production that you're hoping and looking for that you've seen from not only last year, but in years past in general. Regardless, as I digress here, you get Rosario to third. A failed double play after turn review was clearly safe there at second base, that being Ozzy Albies after the Mets intentionally walked him to allow Ozuna for the double play. And again, it was a good move. I didn't hate that move by Buck by any stretch. However, Ozuna got a huge lead, got there, overturned, the run comes in. Arcia with an infield single afterwards with Al Dewar. In the ninth, the Mets don't score off of Raisel Iglesias, and they lose by a final score of 6-4. I got a couple donations in here. Braves fan, and I hate Ozuna. Yeah, I know a lot of Braves fans hate Ozuna. I just hate the ones that put him on a pedestal. Like, out of all guys, he doesn't need... Can he not be the guy that you put on a pedestal? I mean, kind of makes you look like a little bit of a piece of shit. Not going to lie. You know, that's just me. Going to be honest. But again, like any fan base, you have those bad apples a couple times. Let's see. Wardy, you remind me 100% myself, not much to cry about. I'm used to this. Yeah, I mean, I feel so different than I do last year as well. Like, and even earlier this year, I ranted so much, but we've been seeing the same issues with this Mets team. Last year and I'm going to get some donations here and some great sponsors and all that stuff, and I'll get to your comments. The big thing with me is last year, the Mets were on a high for such a long period of time. And then when they got on a low and a consistent low, that's when we started to call them out so bad on their BS. That's where I was ranting so much because of the fact that they were on such a high for a good portion of the season. So it's like, you know, this team's better than the slump they had in the final month and a half of the season heading into postseason. So it's like, you knew that there was wasted potential there. They just fell flat at the worst time possible. This year, the Mets have never had consistency. They had a 5-game win streak, which was fun and all, between the Rays and the Guardians, and then that was quickly diminished as they went on the road. Like, they just have not been able to find a consistent groove in not only their offense, their pitching, everything. And the only way that this Mets team is going to get anywhere is that they start to continue to make some tough decisions, cut dead weight. They already are doing it with Tomas Nido, who's possibly going to be traded. They find a suitor by the end of the week. I predicted that the Padres were going to pick him up, and funny enough, a report from Mike Puma of the New York Post came out that the Mets tried trading him to the Padres, but then they opted to sign Gary Sanchez, and he already has 3 home runs for them in San Diego. So I don't know where Nido's going to land or if they're going to be able to get a proper suitor for him, but Nido's is out the door. His time with the Mets is done, and now I feel like it's a matter of when versus if we're going to see that happen with Vogelback. And Tommy Pham, I expect to stay on the scene. Same thing with Canna. But Vogie's just this dead weight right now. The Mets are continuing to give him opportunities. I'm sorry. I love the guy. It's nothing personal. But right now, he's dog shit. And he's been dog shit for over a month now. Easily over a month, when the Mets have options that they can turn to in that DH position. They're allowing themselves to basically have an inconsistent shit DH for the entire first half of the season, just like they did last year, and they're waiting too little too late to cut dead weight. So I don't know what the future holds with Daniel Vogelback, but these consistent reps need to stop. I know Buck is trying to give him every opportunity, then some, and Mets management to justify the trade in the first place when Colin Holderman is looking like the best thing since sliced bread as a top reliever for the Pirates. But the point stands, you need to know when the time is right to make a decision. If you're not going to cut him, then bench his ass, give Mark Vientos consistent reps, because again, it's a kid. hurting his development is far more the problem here than, again, Daniel Vogelbach riding the bench and say he loses his confidence. Vogie doesn't have confidence right now. He isn't playing good baseball. Mark Vientos, even if he strikes out 2-3 times a night, I much rather see that knowing he's being given a leash, and you can't fault for the Mets for at least saying that, that they didn't try, because they did. Same thing with Alvarez. Same thing with Beatty. Again, even when they had their highs and lows, you want to give these kids reps to see what they have prior to the trade deadline to know that, okay, say we gave him a couple months playing time. It was justified, and, he didn't perform to expectations. Okay, now we know what we need to do externally in acquiring players by the trade deadline. This shit needs to give sooner than later. I'm fed up with it. I've argued so much about the lineups because I can't even say it anymore, because even when the Mets have played all the kids, when you've had the perfect lineup on paper, they are hitting consistently still. Danny Barnes, the Mets hitting coach, I don't know if the Mets need to do something there, but this is not what we saw. And I know that we weren't expecting the same team from last year, but the point stands. You literally had an offense so different from last year, yet the roster is so similar, aside from what you could argue are upgrades. I know the players, a lot of guys last year rallied around Buck in his first year. The momentum was different. Everything was going right, even when things were going wrong with Jake's injury and a lot of other things going on. But the point stands, this is a very similar roster, and they have that young talent that has been prospering in times. And Alvarez, who was one of the best hitters in all baseball in the month of May. Beatty has shown his flashes of brilliance. Again, we hope to see more of that as he's been going through a slump over the past number of weeks now. Vientos, give the kid a shot. See what he has. See what you get out of them. Because you know what the peak with Vogelbach is, and it's not enough to justify continuing to give him consistent reps. The same way, as much as I like Eduardo Escobar, I wasn't in love with him in the lab today either. He's not a good glove. Why are we continuing to give him reps there at second base right now? Why do that when you have a hot hand and one of Canna and Pham who have been hitting well lately? Why not have you have Jeff at second and have one of those two in the corner? What can go wrong there? And I would probably argue between the two, you want to go Canna because Pham has thrived really well against lefties. Elder, of course, being a righty, that wasn't going to be a situation that necessarily was a good matchup. But Canna has been hitting the ball well. Put him in left. McNeil, second base. Alvarez, if he's not, of course, I understand Alvarez, they don't want to DH him because they're afraid, that if an injury happens and they don't have a backup catcher with Narvaez already starting. But still, it's stupid shit that we're pointing out time and time again. And something has to give because it's costing the Mets ball games. They had 4 hits tonight, a 192. Expected batting average. Braves wasn't much prettier, 243, but they had 10 hits, 6 hits. That's going to be the difference. So you go from the Mets now losing 4 straight effing ball games. They're below 500 yet again. A seesaw of a season that we've seen through the first 61 games. Cookie, again, facing the top of the order, has some criticism there. No hits since the 4th inning, mind you. After the 4th inning, the Mets did not have a single, a double, a triple home run, nothing. Nada. Vogelbach being Vogelbach, which is, again, nothing positive. Eddie at second base, McNeil left field, things to, as we discussed, and so on and so forth. I got to get some donations. We'll get to our great sponsors in a second. Again, the shit pisses me off. I know the Braves are the better team. Hey, Braves fans know they're the better team. On paper, you're the better team. All right? Here's the thing. If the Braves don't go on and have a deep playoff run, then this is a massive failure for them this season. The same can be said with the Mets. However, us fans are at least knowing fairly fast what we have in this team, unless changes are meant to be made. The Braves have a lot of things going right, even when they haven't played a great baseball. I mean, the Braves have been a 500 team over the past 5 games. They haven't been anything stellar. Braves fans will tell you that themselves. They have major holes in their bullpen still that they plan to address by the trade deadline, and their rotation has taken massive hits with Max Fried just put on the 60-day IL retroactive, and Soroka, who was caught up but already sent back down. I don't know if that's just a short-term thing based on matchups, because I know they have a kid making his debut against the Nationals this Friday, but the point stands. The Braves have faced their own adversity as well, and they've been able to overcome that because, again, their on-field product offensively is a lot of swing, a lot of miss, but they put the ball in play so consistently, and that's something that the Mets, who did such a great job of last year, are struggling to do a lot this year, and if they are putting the ball in play, then they're struggling mightily at many points where runners are scoring position. Just not what you're hoping to get out of the Mets if you're a Mets fan right now. Peter, thank you so much. Vogel Milkshake is done. It's been over. Do you think Buck and Epler are on the hot seat with 30-31 record? I don't think they're on a huge hot seat, no. I think if the Mets are multiple games below 500 by the trade deadline, by the halfway mark of the season, which we're 20 games away, then's where you start to have discussions. But no, I don't see Buck going anywhere anytime soon right now. Neither do I see anything with Epler, because I know as of now the Epler, the Mets are still going to try to use and in the Ohtani sweepstakes. So unless things completely fall flat on their ass and say the Mets hypothetically don't make playoffs this year, I don't see those guys going anywhere just yet, if I'm being honest. Let me see. Did I miss anything else? TJ, thank you for your donation. Says, TJ, do you think we are failing Vientos by not playing him? Yes. Yes. That's what I've been saying this entire time. What is the worst thing to possibly do for a kid who hit 13 bombs in AAA and 2 months this season, not even gets his ass called up? When he's finally called up, you decide not to play him. He hits a home run, a game-tying home run against the best team in baseball at the time in the Rays, and then you just continue to not play him. Vientos, all the expected numbers are in his favor right now. He's hitting the shit out of the ball. He's getting unlucky, striking out a bit too, which again is natural with someone like him getting acclimated to MLB pitching. But the point stands, you are only hurting his psyche, his mental, his development by sitting his ass on the bench for a guy that's playing like dog shit. It would be more justified if you called up Vientos and then see Vogie gets a fire under his ass, hits 300 for the next month. And it's okay, Vogie needed kind of that added pressure knowing that there's a guy nippy out of the heels for him to get himself figured out. No! Vogelback has done nothing with this opportunity whatsoever. And Vientos, if you're going to continue to hurt his development, if you're not going to start him at minimum 2 of every single 3 games in a series, you need to send his ass down. There is no positives out of this. You hurt his development. You hurt his trade value if the Mets have any interest in parting with any of their prospects for bigger pieces by the trade deadline. It's a lose-lose. Yet for some reason, Epler and everyone involved think this is a good idea. I don't know what to make of this, but what I do know is from the eye test, it's not a smart decision, and changes need to be made. Changes need to be made. Pat, thank you for a donation. How long before Cohen has a Steinbrenner meltdown? Cohen and Steinbrenner aren't the same, so you can't compare the two. Steinbrenner literally was firing guys every single week. It's a different animal. But I am curious to see how, again, Cohen may respond should the Mets continue to be lackluster by the time we reach the halfway point of the season. He has faith, and he has to give time to these things, understandably so, but he also needs to make sure that he doesn't give too much leash to the point where you put yourself in a hole that you can't dig out of, if that makes sense, right? But with that being said, let's talk about a positive tonight. Let's talk about a positive, and that is my great friends, of course, at SoRare MLB. For those that don't know SoRare MLB is the best MLB fantasy game out there. It is free to sign up and play. That's why every content creator that you know and their mother are playing this game since the season began. Partner with the MLB. They're doing a great job. You draft your team. You don't have to spend a dime to play. You draft your team. You have unique NFT cards, which are unique to you. When you can own said cards, you enter weekly tournaments, and how you perform in said tournaments is based on how the players perform in real life. And you can win prizes from MLB subscription packages, free tickets to games, free VIP accesses to meet your favorite players. If you're a Mets or a Braves fan, same applies, and so much more. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in exclusive tournaments. And now what we're doing, and all you guys got to do is click the link pinned in the live chat right now in the description down below, is sign up, clicking my link to Wardy's unique SoRare MLB League for just our WardyNYM followers. And all you guys got to do is sign up, draft your team for free, enter weekly tournaments, and you will have a chance to win a free Francisco Alvarez jersey, and which will be announcing the giveaway winner at the end of the month of June. Just like what we did with our previous giveaway for a Brett Beatty jersey that actually a great member in Yoshima just won, which I'll be sending his way shortly. Now we're doing it with Francisco Alvarez, the hottest player in baseball throughout the month of May, hoping to get out of the little funkies in, but he's also not playing every day, so that doesn't help either here in the month of June. So again, all you guys have to do to enter is click the link in the description and the live chat in the comments below. Sign up to Wardy's SoRare MLB League, draft your team, enter weekly tournaments, and you'll be automatically entered for a chance to win a Francisco Alvarez jersey of your liking, whatever color you want, whatever size you want, all that great stuff. A winner will be picked at the end of the month, and it'll only be out of a couple hundred you guys because, realistically, the odds of you guys winning this giveaway are so much greater than me just picking a random subscriber on the channel. So that's why, again, just put the extra effort in, sign up, click that link. It's all for free. You don't have to spend a dime if you don't want to. You can, of course, if you'd like, which I'm not saying no to because I love the exclusive cards. You get limited, rare, super rare cards if you want to spend a dime, but if you don't want to, it's not a big deal. Sign up for free, draft your team, enter tournaments, and enter your chance at getting the Alvarez jersey. And thank you for coming to my TED Talk, and thank you to SoRare MLB for being a great sponsor in today's video. But 1200, thank you so much for the holla. Let's see what 1200 says here. We are tanking for the draft. No, we aren't. What are we talking about? That's what I'm gonna go with. The Mets draft pick this year because of penalties from the money they've spent is 32. The Mets' first draft pick this year is the 32nd overall draft pick. So yes, surely the Mets are tanking. That or our GM is terrible and the expensive fossils gotta go. Fire everyone. Everyone isn't gonna get fired, but again, changes need to be had because I'm getting fed up with this shit by the night. And again, don't get me wrong, the Braves are a really good team, so it's not one of those things where it's like, oh my god, I can't believe the Braves didn't beat the fucking Braves. No, you're kind of like if the Mets pull out the series, you're kind of like, oh shit, the Mets just beat 2 out of 3 from the Braves. That's how the average Mets fan would feel if that were to happen. But with that being said, there's major flaws with this team because even when they've had their highs of recent over the past couple weeks, they've had their lows. If they're playing a below 500 team, they play to that competition. There are just so many flaws with this team right now that continue to get exposed on a night-to-night basis, and there's nothing we could do about it right now, other than rant about it and go on with our next day and either act like nothing happened or hope that changes be had sooner than later. Appreciate that donation, though. Let's see. Yes, we talked about DeGrom to start the show. Josh, how's it going, my man? Josh is a great support. For those that know, Josh Daniels is a great support on the channel, as are many of you guys, our 400 to 500 loyal viewers watching live on replay. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe. And as always, if you guys are enjoying the content, it means a lot. Also, I didn't even get into it, but I don't know why I'm late with this, but here's the pitching stats from tonight. Again, Cookie was better than what he was made out to be. I'm kind of annoyed with that because, I really didn't dislike Cookie's stuff today. He got hit around by a top of the order that he probably shouldn't have faced there in the third. And for what Carrasco is and for what he's given the Mets over the past 2-3 starts, I've been very pleasantly surprised. So I'm not like pinning this on Cookie at all. Mets offense should have been able to come back only down 1 run. They decided not to. But aside from Carrasco, again, Drew Flow, I've not been on that Drew Smith train consistently. He's had some big outs here or there, but if this Mets bullpen was deeper the way it should be to start the year, I would be more in favor of Drew. But again, the Mets are having to use him in tighter one-run ball game, tied ball game, or even when they were up 4-3 when they brought him in, and nothing to show for it because he gives up 1 earned and 1 unearned because the other one is earned to Carrasco. And then Brigham, again, with a score. Brigham has been, aside from him giving up that bomb to Varsho against the Blue Jays, he's been he's been a surprise for this Mets bullpen this year. But again, you still need more. Ottavino, of course, giving up that run. It didn't even matter, though. Then the hitting. Everyone, look at this with me. Look at this dog shit offense. Front and center, 1 through 9. Nimmo 0 for 3. Lindor with the bomb. Thank you, Frankie. McNeil 0 for 3. Not Jeff. This is not the Jeff McHits that we know and love. Again, McNeil is very good, but he's not the guy that we saw last year yet. McNeil was that guy where if you're going to place one guaranteed parlay a night, it would be, of course, when the Mets were going right, it would be Mets money line or Mets spread, especially if they were underdog against certain teams, and McNeil getting at least 2 hits. Or just wanting to play something flat out money line, McNeil with at least 2 hits for McHits. He's just not the lock that he's been. And that too needs to change. Alonso, thank you for the big hit. Appreciate that. Vogelback, again, if you always the under on hits with Vogelback right now. Marte, a bad at-bats today. Did not look good. Marte looked great his last game. Did not look good today. Beatty 1 for 3. Not terrible today. Escobar 0 for 3. Not look sharp. Alvarez, of course, didn't even get a chance to get an at-bat. It's almost like it's frustrating when we're not even talking statistically the best catcher in baseball in the month of May, because that was true. This is not to offend Braves fans with Murphy, as great as he is. Statistically, Francisco Alvarez was the best hitting catcher in baseball in the month of May. All the numbers back, I went through it. I even had conversations with people about this. From WRC plus, OPS plus, to the RBIs, the average, the OPS, all this shit. It was all in his favor. So it frustrates me more that, again, even though that he didn't hit well in our previous homestand, shouldn't change the fact that you need to start him. Alvarez has now sat 3 out of the Mets' last 5 games? 5-6 games, if I'm not mistaken. Nito started twice. The Mets started Nito twice just to DFA his ass. And Narvaez, while I get it, he's on an $8 million payroll for this year contract. I understood why he was starting. I knew he was going to get in there. Alvarez better start the next 2 games. I don't give a rat's ass they're going from a night to a day game. Start his ass. He's 21. His knees are as fresh as ever. You even got the Phillies still rolling out JT, night to a day game. And his knees are cooked. There's nothing to not justify throwing him out there back-to-back nights. Do it. Braves number 1 the NL. Yes, they have. Yes, we're all aware of that. Thank you for the clarification, though, in case I missed it. Tyler, instead of using ERA, especially for relievers, can you show and the following fit? No, I can't for how this is automated. No, I can't. I apologize. I know if you want to go through FanGraphs and look at all those expected numbers, that's great. But especially for breaking things down on a night-to-night basis, just not providing that. That's more justified. More doing thorough player breakdowns on their season as a whole, trade deadline targets. Because I agree, SIRA, expected FIP, WHIP, all those numbers, they are expected ERA as a whole are more important than baseline ERA. Because all those numbers help prove what a pitcher can control versus what he can't control because of the defense behind him. That isn't errors and stuff like that. When is Mount Cohen going to erupt? I can't wait. Dave, member of 8 months, thank you so much for being here. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how Cohen's feeling right now. Why the Mets let Stroman go? Because he's a clubhouse cancer. That's why. And the Mets didn't want to give him a probably $100 million deal over 5 years. Same reason why no other team did. He's going to get a bag this offseason. I'm curious what he's going to get. But there was justified reasons why the Mets didn't bring Stroh back. Good for him for doing well, but I could not give more of a less of a shit that he's not a Met anymore. And that's someone who loved and admired him for a good portion of his career. So if there's one thing Marcus Stroman is good at besides pitching, it's burning bridges. Let's see here. Let me see what I got with you guys. Hold on as I'm going through the chat right now. Appreciate everyone watching live. Ryan, thank you for the $10 haul. Ryan says, first DFA Vogie, then fire Epler, then call up Mauricio. Mauricio is injured with his ankle right now. I don't know what his status is. I have to check on that. Then fire Buck, then trade for Chapman and Bieber. Okay, then DFA Pearson because it's funny. Then rehire Epler to sign Ohtani. Then fire him again. Ryan, I think you got it all figured out. I think the Mets should hire you as we speak. Surely that's not sarcasm. I appreciate that donation, no less. The funny thing about what you just said, Ryan, is that I know that a lot of that you're joking, but there are genuine people that like react like that on Twitter every single day. Like that, like genuinely mean like what they said. Like they think that those things work like that. And I think that's the funniest thing out of all this. Like, I'm all for being reactionary, but there's another one. It's like you just don't know the common sense and breaking down how a team operates, whether you like it or not. You know, it's like the Mets lose like their first game this season. You have people saying fire Buck. You know, it's like shit like that. Don't get me wrong. Buck deserves plenty of criticisms right now, but he also doesn't have a roster pitching-wise, depth-wise especially, on the bullpen front that you would like to see. And offensively, again, you could argue you need to pin that more on Barnes, the Mets hitting coach. I don't think the Mets are going to go out of their way to do an internal firing like that this year. I think that they're going to ride it out and hopefully get the success they're looking for. Because if they learned anything from firing Chili Davis prematurely in the 2021 season, it was that the philosophy by Zach Scott, the interim GM at the time, because Jared Porter had to go be a fucking pervert. Story for another day for those that are aware. Zach Scott was too analytical because he was the analytics guru with Boston. And in doing so, he decided to throw all the numbers for what you would apply hitting-wise. And that messed up McNeil, that messed up Conforto, that messed up Lindor for a bit, that messed up everyone and their mother offensively that year. JD Davis, the list goes on and on. So the Mets have a balance of using baseline analytics, sabermetrics, and the eye test. And I think that they are still struggling at times with said matchups. And the biggest thing that they struggle with to this day that I was preaching on our Queen's Quarter podcast with former Met and Brave and Anthony Recker and my other co-host Joe Sorrell the other night was that the Mets don't know how to ride a hot hand. They don't. Buck did a solid job on doing that last year. A lot. Riding hot hands with guys who are performing well. If it ain't broke, why fix it? But the Mets have had a lot broken in this lineup, and they have yet to decide to ride something for an extended period of time and see what that gives you. If they do, it's the wrong decisions. They're riding guys to give them their last leash before they cut them, and Vogelback is the latest example of that. So it's really just beyond frustrating shit that we're continuing to see daily that has yet to be rectified in a positive manner. What's up, Fern? How are you, my man? The nicest Phillies fan you'll ever meet. Fern's been a supporter on the channel for a long time. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate all my live members, people watching live on a replay. Love and appreciate you guys. But with that being said, how long before Cohen? Oh yeah, I answered that already, Pat. Let's talk again. Your Mets will be fine. This is where Braves were at the same time last year. See, the Braves were the Braves were in the exact same spot last year. That might be true, but the difference is that the Mets, there's just, it's hard to explain. even when the Braves were underperforming last year, it's like their on-field talent you just have more of a confidence in, and you had trust in them lean up to the trade deadline. Yes, they fell flat on their ass and didn't know how to handle the Phillies, which was funny at the time in the playoffs. I'm getting such an itchy nose. I apologize, guys. Freaking feels like allergies right now. What is going on? Hold on one second. This is weird. Oh my God, SNY is showing DeGrom crying on my TV again. I do not need to be dealing with cutting onions. I already went through that earlier. Okay, point I'm trying to make is that the Mets, while it's not an end-all, be-all situation right now, they're very much in the thick of things. I'm very confident they're going to make playoffs. But there's a lot of things that need to change. And more than anything, I just hope that if they're going to have a roller coaster, lackluster season, that they get hot at the right time, the way that the Phillies did, the way that the Padres did. Because this team does have pieces to make good things happen. They need to add to it, especially that bullpen for certain. But they do have pieces to have, in my opinion, a strong season. But it's all about getting hot, and the timing needs to be right. So that's one of those things where hopefully as we get into the second half when we're there, trade deadline, post-trade deadline, this team looks far better and more consistent than what we're seeing, because this Mets team, got to give them credit, they have been consistently inconsistent all season long. And speaking of, not only what's been going on with the Mets, let's talk about what's been going on there for all my New Jersey Mets residents. Of course, this is going to be available, countrywide very soon. But in the meantime, for those that don't know, our good friends at Mojo Sportsbook are a great sponsor on the channel. And what I love so much about their product and is the main reason why I brought them on as a sponsor isn't solely because of the fact that they're a sponsor to come on, but, I'm very nitpicky. I have sponsors that reach out to me every single week, and I only bring on certain ones that I thoroughly enjoy their product. And Mojo Sportsbook is so unique on combining stock trading, daily trading if you want, or holding on your stock, no different than on Robinhood or anything else, and combine that with players where you're investing on the player, you're investing in their stock, you're following trends like Alek Manoah, going from being the high shit to just shit this season. His stock is at all-time low, so if you want to buy in on Manoah, you have potential of doing that and having potentially good turnout should he figure himself out at some point this year. But for those that don't know, especially New Jersey residents only, for my Mets, Braves, or whoever you're a fan of that are playing, to click the link in the description to sign up here to help support the channel. Mojo, for those that don't know, is the live betting stock market that's operating in New Jersey. Every bet on Mojo offers live trading so you can get in and get out all game long. It's stock trading meets sports betting with money lines, player props, and a whole new career-long bet they've created. The best part of this, and something that I appreciate the most as an active bettor, is that you're in total control of your bets. Cash in when you're up or cash out if it's going bad. Mojo cash outs are available way more than any other sportsbook, which is important because a lot of sportsbook that you use, as soon as you want to get a nice hefty cash out because things are going in your favor with the money line or the spread or whatever you bet on, they just won't give it to you. And if they do give it to you, they give you at a quarter of the price of what you're looking for. So all you gotta do again is download the app now for my New Jersey residents and use promo code WardyNYM for a 20% deposit match up to $100. Again, that is promo code WardyNYM for a 20% deposit match up to $100. And once again, shout out Mojo Sportsbook for being a great sponsor on the channel. I appreciate everyone that has checked them out, clicking the link again in the description, as they've been a great sponsor here. But going back to talking about this Mets team and the Braves, again, the Braves, as we know, have been performing. The Braves, the fact that the Braves haven't run away with the division, the way that the Mets had such good ground at this point last year, I'm pretty sure the Mets had a bigger lead than what the Braves do right now. The Mets are 6.5 back. They were 3.5 back not even a week ago. It just tells you when you lose 4 straight what can happen when a team starts to win. But the point stands. I'm not as much as concerned about the division as I was last year. As I've said to many of you guys, don't get me wrong. The Mets somehow, some way pull out the division this year, I'll be ecstatic. That'd be great, right? That's awesome. Helps you with playoffs and things like that. But playoffs last year with the expanded format proved to us that it doesn't necessarily matter if you're not first in the division, right? Because even after the Braves rode that momentum, stole away the division from the Braves because they ended up being the best team in the division, the only thing that they had to look forward to in hindsight from last year was that division win because they were dog shit in playoffs. The same way that the Mets were a shit show against the San Diego Padres. The Padres and Phillies, the two teams to crack those final wildcard spots, had the deepest runs out of any team in the NL. The Padres dethroned the Dodgers. The 110-win Dodgers felt like last year, right? And again, the Braves, Ryan Hott, couldn't handle the Philadelphia Phillies that the Mets pistol what left and right during the regular season. So it goes to show you that cracking playoffs is ultimately the most important thing at the end. If they somehow win the division, awesome. But it's about making playoffs and riding the hot hand once you get there. So again, we're going to be scoreboard watching. We're going to be standing watching. I understand that, especially as the battle between these two teams continue. But more than anything, I just want this Mets team to get right, and for me to have a confidence level in them that I don't have right now, because I don't. I'm very up and down with this team right now. I'm giving them what they're giving me. They're inconsistent, so my faith in said team and what I can expect from this year will be equally as inconsistent. They need to prove it. They have yet to do so, which has led to all this frustration. And be right back, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that, but appreciate everyone that's been watching live on a replay as we've been breaking down the game that was as the Mets falter, dropping their first game of a 3-game set to the Atlanta Braves by a final score of 6-4. Make sure to smash that like and your subscribe button if you're watching live on a replay, especially for people on replay. If you're still watching 50 minutes in, make sure to drop your thoughts in the comments below. But final thing I'll say here before I get to wrapping things up is, again, I just really hope that the Mets, of course, can get a nice outing from Scherzer tomorrow. Big matchup against Charlie Morton, who's been having a solid season. Morton's stuff looks far better than what we saw last year. So hopefully the Mets can handle him okay tomorrow. And then you got the flamethrower Spencer Strider, who every Mets fan, including myself, just loves so much. Him and his fucking chamomile tea. Pardon my French. But that's going to be a big matchup against JV. Verlander still trying to find consistency in his game. Had 6 gutsy innings against the Toronto Blue Jays. Almost 120 pitches. Not ideal, especially for a 40-year-old. But it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next 2 games. But guys, I appreciate everyone that's been watching live on our replay. Really does mean a lot. Before I get out of here, I'm a Braves fan who watches your show quite a bit. Appreciate that. You're correct that we don't have anyone who does what you do for the Braves. So I'm always here after play the Mets. Good show. I appreciate that. And yeah, I'm aware of that. And again, I really hope for the Braves fan base that happens. It really does. Pasta crying Wardy, pasta crying Wardy. Again, WardyNYM. I actually love that. Let's see. WardyNYM. I love that. I actually love that. Shout out to you. Pasta crying. Why pasta? That's the only thing that I'm a little confused on. I appreciate the support, though, to whoever made that account. Shout out to you. I appreciate it. It's like one of my minions, which is fine because I, too, am a short schmuck minion, so it's fitting. But before we get out of here, I got to tell you guys about our last but not least phenomenal sponsor on the channel, and that is my great friends, for everyone that's been following the channel, that being, and yes, Mantis Sleep. For those that don't know, Mantis Sleep is the best sleep mask out there. I've been repping this bad boy for a couple months now. I've been getting absolutely beautiful sleep. I'm going to need it because my ass, I'm staying up late tonight. I just started watching Succession for the first time. I don't know why it took me all the way until them having their, show finale to start watching the show, because it's effing brilliant to all my Succession watchers out there. Love it. I was the same way with Breaking Bad and then Better Call Saul, The Wire, Sopranos, etc. This show is effing phenomenal. I'm going to be up late tonight, and I'm still going to need beauty sleep whenever I go to bed, and that is where my Mantis Sleep Mask Pro comes into play, sleeping like an absolute dream. And all you guys got to do, again, if you want to check out the best sleep mask in the market, is by checking out my good friends at Mantis Sleep on, of course, mantisleep.com, clicking the link in the description as this thing loads up. Look how happy she is. Look how happy she is with her Mantis Sleep mask. I would be too if I'm a sleeping beauty like that with a mask like this. So to tell you a little bit more about Mantis Sleep and what you get from them, the best sleep mask on the market, the most affordable mask, what I love most about them is it doesn't matter the setting you're in. Again, they're so comfortable, flexible. I mean, beautiful for your eye sockets around there. The sound mask, I've heard raving reviews about that. Many of you guys have been going out your way to buy some product that helps support the channel a lot. Thank you so much by clicking the link in the description. The sound mask, it's so sick. You could be playing DaBaby. You could be playing some Frank Sinatra. You could be playing Slipknot. Any genre, whenever, wherever. You could be listening to whales. You could be listening to birds chirping. It doesn't matter. Night, day, evening, you're going to be getting that nice sunlight cut out of your eyes while repping that sound mask. And say if you're on an airplane, that I famously say you're dealing with turbulence and you don't love it and you want to try to, get rid of those noises and those feelings, put on your Mantis Sleep sound mask. Bluetooth, can play whatever you want. And again, not only gets sound out of the way, aside from what you're listening to, but gets you the nice comfort for your eyes and sleep should you want that you deserve. More on Mantis Sleep from some other awesome masks that they got. They got a weighted mask I've heard raving reviews about. The cool mask for a hot summer night doing a post-game show like I am, where I want to go to bed nice, cold, and comfortable. Put on the Manta Cool mask and it cools down my face and around the eye sockets. Or on the other hand, if you want to use, say, especially around wintertime on the East Coast, you want to use a Manta Steam mask. You go to bed cold, a little too cold, especially in the face. Say your nose is cold. Around your eyes, you put on the Manta Steam mask. It gets get some nice hot steam around the eyes, feeling like the beauty that you are. So again, all you guys got to do is click the link in the description and use my promo code WARDY for 10% off your purchase. Again, that is promo code WARDY for 10% off your purchase. And shout out to Manson Sleep, as always, for being the beauties that they are, as being not only an OG, but a great supporter here on the channel. Let's see. Do you think Buck has lost his team? No, I do not think that Buck has lost his team. However, what I do think is that a lot of the things that Buck did so well with last year, a lot of that isn't happening this year. And it shows you that when the Mets really lucked out with injuries and guys still performing, like the Patrick Mazekas of the world, you know, the Yon Lopez's, the Adonis Medina getting a huge clutch save in LA against the Dodgers. The things that the Mets were getting last year from guys that they weren't expecting due to injuries, they're just not getting this year. And that is ultimately becoming a bigger problem because Buck's hands are tied with a lot of things. Yes, I've not loved his in-game management by any stretch, but he is just one of many factors that are going into the demise of this team on a night-to-night basis. So I'm not here and saying that, you know, I support Buck 100% with all of his decisions, because that's the farthest thing from the truth. However, it's also fair argument to be said that this team is drastically underperforming in many ways, and they themselves need to get out of their own heads. This is more than Buck in certain aspects, but at the same time, don't fucking start Vogelback tomorrow. Like, little things, please, you know? But I digress. Guys, I'm out of here. Thank you so much for watching. Love you all to death. Mets, Braves fans, whoever you're watching, we will be back live tomorrow. And regardless on win or lose, I'm likely going to take callers tomorrow. Might even have a special guest on the show. I'm not sure, but I will likely take callers tomorrow. So the only reason why I didn't do it tonight is because I knew it would be a long show, long-winded, and I knew that the show would be starting late as is. I mean, it's almost 1 a.m. Eastern right now. I didn't feel like taking callers to make this, say, like an hour and 30-minute show, possibly at absolute worst, when I need to get some shut-eye. And, of course, watch my Succession, because your boy needs to wind down a little bit. But that being said, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully the Mets get their head out of their ass and hopefully have an effective win, because, again, they had a win today, and it was stolen from them because they let it get stolen from them, and that hurts a lot. So hopefully they bounce back tomorrow. Thank you, guys. Braves fans, looking forward to seeing you schmucks tomorrow. Mets fans, same applies. Love you guys to death. And as always, let's go Mets, baby. Peace out.